In this video, I show you how to create the look of real perspiration without actually breaking into a sweat.
Adorama TV presents Take and Make Great Photography with Gavin Hoey, where you'll learn how to take stunning photos and then polish them in post-production. Here's your host, Gavin Hoey.
Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that has everything for us photographers. Now today we're back in the studio and we're going to do a studio shoot with a little bit of a difference. In a minute I'm going to have our model Harry come in here, but we're going to set Harry up so he looks really hot and sweaty, like he's done a really good workout. But the thing is, he's not going to do a really good workout. We're going to fake it here in the studio. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First one might be that you don't really want your model to run around the garden, around the road for half an hour and come in. It could be that this is halfway through a shoot and you want to have a nice clean model in the next setup. It could be that you've got lots of people that you're going to do this to, so you don't want to have a long time between shots. You want to do this repeatably and quickly. Whatever it is, I'm going to show you all the steps you need to make somebody look like they've done a workout. Now let's start with the gear. As far as gear goes, it's going to be off-camera flash for this, so I'm using my Canon 580 EX Mark II flash gun and the Elastilite Easy Box just to soften the light down a little bit. For the camera, I'm using my 5D camera and, well, no prizes for guessing the lens. It is, of course, my Do Everything 24 to 105 f4 lens. Love this lens and I use it all the time. I'm going to trigger the flash with the little the STE2 trigger, and that will fire this remotely. This flash is set to slave, so when I fire this camera, the flash will fire remotely. But we'll need to set that up and get the correct exposure, and that's what we're going to do right now. Right, so we've got Harry, our model, who's now ready and raring to go. Now, I could send Harry out running. Look at him, he's more than capable of running around for half an hour and coming back hot and sweaty. But well, we're going to do it the quick way instead. Before I actually get any sort of beads of sweat on Harry, the first thing I need to do is figure out the camera settings. So I'm going to keep the flash in one place. It's not going to move for the shoot. So I'm going to set my exposure now and then I won't need to change it. I know I want a shallow depth of field. I know I want to be in f4 for a really shallow depth of field to give me the look I'm going for. And I know I want to be on a 200th of a second exposure. And I know I want to be on ISO 100. So those are all known facts. All I need to know is how much light to get out of my flash gun. And the best way to work that out is to take a couple of pictures. So let's just start with a test shot. Okay, Harry, this is a nice simple test shot. Here we go. And when I take the shot, I can review it on the back of the camera, I can check the histogram and I can see that it's really overexposed. So that's just a little bit too bright, maybe a stop, maybe even a stop and a half, maybe two. So let's just dial down the power of the flash. So at the moment it's on 1/4 power, which is a great place to start. I normally begin on 1/4 power. I'm just going to dial it down one stop. Let's go to 1/8 power. Okay, so we're now on 1/8 power and we'll take the same shot again. Here we go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. On my histogram, that almost looks absolutely perfect. May just be a little bit too bright, so we'll just dial it down just a little bit more. Let's go down another stop. We'll go down to 1/16 power. And we'll test that again. So here we go. There you go, nailed it, perfect. So that gives me the correct exposure, nice deep black background, just the right amount of detail in the skin tones. That's the exposure set. Let's get on and get Harry a bit sweaty. So you might think it's simply a matter of grabbing some water and spraying it on Harry's face and that'll work. Well, let's see if that works, because that's the simplest approach. We've got some water ready here from our lovely assistant Sam, who is going to spray Harry in the face with the water from a mister. Okay, so with the water you have to work fairly quickly because it will evaporate and it will disappear. So time is of the essence here. So let's grab a shot. Okay. And that actually comes out pretty well. The thing is, it will vary from person to person, depends on their skin type. Because normally when you sweat, it's not just water you produce, you also get some oils as well. And we're looking for a nice beaded effect on the skin. So let's try a slight variation. Okay, so this time we're going to use something different. Before we put the water on, we're going to put a bit of this on Harry's face. This is just olive oil. Now you might think you want to mix glycerin and water, but be careful because people can have an allergic reaction to glycerin and it can hurt if you get it in the eyes. Olive oil should be fine, but if you're not completely sure, do a little patch test first. So let's put a little bit of olive oil on Harry's face and we're just going to pop it over his forehead, on his nose, on his cheeks, just the places where the water when you sweat would sort of bead up. Okay, so once we've got that on the skin, now we can go back with the atomizer and we can spray Harry in the face with water again. Brilliant, off you go.
Are you ready this time?
I'm expecting it. Still makes me jump.
It does make you jump.
Okay, so this should look a lot more like normal natural sweat. Let's just take a picture again. Time is of the essence. Away we go. Okay, I'll just take a test shot first. Okay, so same thing again. Look down at the floor. Then look at me in 3. 1, 2, 3. Brilliant. And just tilt your head a little to the side. Okay, and I'm going to come closer. And again, look down at the floor and at me. 1, 2, 3. Brilliant. Okay, so that's really good. So it's all very well having your model look like they've done a workout, but we want him to actually do a workout. We're actually going to take a photograph now where Harry is going to be doing a little bit of a press up, kind of more of an action shot. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to put a bit of oil on and a little bit of water on, and then we're going to change the pose to get a more interesting and dynamic picture. Now obviously I've changed the lighting round. I've gone with my low level light stand, and this is one of those things in the studio. If you haven't got one of these and you work in the studio, a low level light stand is possibly one of the most useful things you can have, because it means I can get my light really down low at the same height as Harry, which of course is essential. Okay, now this is where I wish I had a bigger studio, but I think we can just about fit this in. So away we go. Okay, so you're going to lower yourself down. I'm just going to snap away, and then if you come up, that's it, slowly does it. And again, up you go. So those pictures look really good. I love the black and white look. I think it works really well, shows off Harry's physique, and it adds some terrific mood to the scene. We're going to do one more setup just to finish. Now Harry's been a real sport with this and has allowed us to pour a load of water over his face. Oh well, got to get the oil off somehow, I guess. And we're going to photograph the results. So I'm still using my flash, and one of the nice things about using a speed light is its ability to freeze action. Now you've seen me do this before, freezing action with a flash. And if you haven't, go back and check out the Adorama Learning Center, where you'll find out much more information about using your speed light to freeze action. Okay, so I've got everything set up. It's best if you're going to do this sort of thing that you are prepared. So I've chosen my aperture, I've checked my exposure, we've oiled up Harry's face. Sam's ready with a little bit of water. Let's take the pictures. Okay, when you're ready, go for it. Okay, I'm just going to keep snapping away. Okay, that's good. There we are, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so there you go, water's gone everywhere. That's why the towels are here. Those are sort of really useful things that Adorama don't sell, but things you are actually going to need if you're going to try this sort of photography. So now all we need to do is get the best picture into Photoshop, and I'll show you how to do some editing, and I'm going to do that right now. You're right. Oh dear. We needed a bigger towel. So let's get the RAW file and we'll open it up in Adobe Camera RAW. I'm using Photoshop CC for this, although we could be in Photoshop CS6 or even older versions. Now what I want to do first of all is crop the picture down. I think I've got a little bit too much in the top of the picture and it's not really symmetrical, so let's just bring that in, and I think that is a much more powerful composition. So the first step is cropping, next step is colour, and in this case I always envisaged this as a black and white. Black and white was what I saw when I took the picture. It's kind of where I was heading. Now in a previous video I did an advanced black and white adjustment here in RAW. This isn't going to be that. This is going to be really simple, really quick, really dirty black and white. I'm just going to take the saturation from 0 to -100. That gets rid of the colour, but the end result is really flat. So to get around that, I'll take the contrast and really push that high. Now that's going to make the blacks blacker and the whites whiter, and that works really well. That gives me a nice punchy black and white. Of course, I've got to do something with clarity. I can't help myself. So normally with a portrait, I would decrease the clarity. But in this case, I want to increase it, which isn't what you would normally do with a portrait. But just look at the beads of sweat as I do that. The perspiration just stands out so much clearer. Now, it is looking a little bit bright on this side of the face. Now, it's not actually clipping, and you've got to watch this. Sometimes it can appear like it is, but if I turn on the clipping warning, I can increase the whites, and I have to go quite far until it actually clips. So something around about there looks good, but just to make it clear that it really isn't clipped, I'm going to bring the highlights down a little bit, just like so. Now, one thing I do like to do with my pictures is I do like to put a bit of vignetting around the edge. So let's jump over to Effects, and we'll put some post-crop vignetting in just to darken everything down and really bring the emphasis in towards the center. Now, that's my kind of global changes. Those are the things I want to change all over, but there's some local adjustments I want to do, particularly on this left eye and on the right ear. So let's jump into another tool. We'll get the adjustment brush here in Adobe Camera RAW, and of course if you're a Lightroom worker, it's exactly the same in Lightroom. And what I'm going to do is increase the exposure by half a stop and also open up the shadows a little bit as well. Now, wherever I paint with this brush, it'll apply that effect. So I can paint it on the eye, just on the cheek and on the lip there, just to lighten that up. And the same on the other eye, just to put a bit more brightness and really make those eyes pop. I can also use it in other areas. Now, we had a single light setup for this shot, just to keep things really simple. Had we been using a double light setup, I could have done this very simply by adding a second light. But for now, that just adds a little bit more definition to his arms and his clothing, and that just makes everything just look a little bit more dramatic where I paint that in. So I'm just balancing up the light a little bit. Now, the ear, on the other hand, is a little bit too bright. So I'm going to click on the New button, and we'll make a new brush that actually makes things darker by decreasing the exposure. And we can just paint a little bit of darkness just in there, just on the ear, and maybe just a tiny dab just on the nose area like so. So that for me feels much better, and if I just flip the preview on and off, you can see how the adjustment brush just highlights or lowlights certain areas of the picture. Now, there are two bits I want to fix finally, and that's just the two little earrings in either ear, which are just, the studs are just a little bit bright and a bit shiny. I'm just going to click on Open Image. Although I could fix them here in RAW, I much prefer to use the tools in Photoshop when it comes to healing and cloning. So what I'm going to do is simply get the Spot Healing brush, and we'll make my brush not much bigger than the area I want to heal, and with one click we can just tidy that up like so. Same on this one, just one click and we can just tidy that area up. And you can see how sharp this picture is. Flash is incredibly good at bringing out the real sharpness from your images. So there we go, there is my picture of Harry looking like he's done a full-on workout. Now that really was a great fun shoot to do, and in case you're wondering, all of the black and white photographs in this video had exactly the same Photoshop treatment. Now, if you want to see more videos by me and the other great presenters here on Adorama TV, then you know what you've got to do. Click on the subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching. Yeah.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.